Oh no.
Okay, we are live. I just want to see if I can see the chat at the same time as I do this.
Yes, make sure you hit live chat and not top chat.
How do you do that on here? Chat.
Am I one of your moderators?
I just want to see if I can see the chat at the same time as I do this.
Yes. Just make sure you mute YouTube.
Yeah. Mute YouTube. Oh, does someone have YouTube pulled up? Okay.
I don't know, but I hear feedback.
I am just going to open up YouTube so I can see the chat, and then we can go ahead and get started. So do you guys want to start by introducing yourselves? Maybe Matt, you can go ahead first. I am just going to open.
Who's first?
Matt.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Matt, and I'm with Elk and Acre Homestead.
Natalie, you want to go?
Sure. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm with Hey, It's a Good Life. We are a growing homestead based in our first apartment here in Southern California with big dreams of running a healing homestead one day.
And I'm Morgan over at Goldshaw Farm up here in Vermont. Hey, guys.
Morgan's the duck guy, that's for sure. Hi guys, I'm Jen at the Sunshine Farm. My husband Chris, he is hanging out over on the couch there. Couldn't get him to jump on with me, but we are a plant-based homestead and excited to do our first live.
Yes.
I'm just gonna pull up the chat real quick, so if there's a weird sound for a second, I apologize.
Josh. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm building the power of the wrench. Yay.
Okay, so it did not make a sound, so that is good.
Hey, so, Rose. Hi, Rose.
Hey, Rose. Hey, guys. Welcome to this little first test of Google Hangouts Live.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like the chat is going up, and we will try to get to questions kind of as we talk through it. But today I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, each of our brands and how we got to the point of knowing what we want to share on YouTube and how we're matching our brands to that mission, and also using other platforms to kind of carry along that mission and that brand as well. And then share some resources for how to kind of get branding going and thumbnails and all of that type of stuff. Cool. So I was thinking we could each share a little bit about just starting on branding and discovering our purpose on YouTube and how that relates to the brand that you've gone with. And I was thinking, Morgan, you could share like your story a little bit with this because you have, you know, the most experience out of all of us.
Yeah, I've been doing this since April. It's been crazy long.
Well,
no, but sure. So the whole reason we actually started, there's actually two reasons why we started our YouTube channel. The first one is when it comes to what we're doing here with the farm, I've had this dream for years to try to build a farm in Vermont. And the strategy that I've had is before I even start trying to sell farm products, I wanted to try to build a brand and make people know what we're doing and be completely transparent with what's happening with the farm and showing both kind of what's working and what's not working. And so that was sort of the main reason I started the YouTube channel. But then the second reason that I found is it's been such an awesome creative outlet. When I went from living in Washington, D.C. to the middle of nowhere, Vermont, one of the things I didn't quite realize would be like, wow, it's such a different place. You have so much kind of more quiet, more space, more time. And I found that I needed sort of a creative outlet, and making YouTube videos and making the videos that we put out every week, that's been just a huge driver for me. And so in terms of why we're doing this, that's been a big part of it. And then in terms of the brand itself, it's really just about saying, hey, look, we've got this farm. We're starting to sell eggs right now. We sold a couple, ducks for meat, and we're gearing up to do a couple of things this year in terms of both raising more ducks, raising more geese, and potentially growing hemp. So we'll see how that goes.
That's cool. And feel free, as you guys are watching, to ask questions in the comments below as people are talking, and we can have folks answer those questions. But Morgan, how did you kind of go with like your logo and your you're very consistent with using orange. I've noticed that. Like you have your kind of brand where people can know, oh, there's Goldshot Farms. Like, you know, that's going to be, I know what to expect from those videos. I'm going to go click that video. Like, how did you come up with that brand as you've been going?
Yeah. So the, you know, the name, you know, and I've told the story a little bit before. The name is actually, so the farm that we're at from like years 1870 to like the early 1970s was owned by this family, the Shaws. And they, like, you know, really built this place. They ran a dairy here for a number of years. And so everybody in our town, in our area, knows this place as the Shaw Farm. And then in the late 90s and early 2000s, this other family owned the farm, and they made it like a vegetable CSA that they were running out of here. And they called it Old Shaw Farm. And so, you know, given our last name is Gold, I just figured it'd be easy to just drop one letter in front of it and go from Old Shaw Farm to Old Shaw Farm. And so, like, the name was pretty much ready built. And, you know, I kind of like that it's, you know, 3 words, 4 letters each. It's got some symmetry to it. And, like, it kind of works that way. And then in terms of the branding elements, you know, there's a really long roundabout story that I won't go into now about how we ended up with a bear and a bird logo. But it was just this idea that was, you know, for Allison, my wife, and me, really personal and kind of meant sort of had all the ideas of what we wanted the farm to be wrapped up in a couple of simple visual images. So that was sort of how we landed there. And then as far as the color of orange and why that popped up, that was just one of those things of, I had this, like, I still have it, but it's like looking really ragamuffin these days, this orange sweatshirt that I seem to wear in a lot of my earliest videos. And I just kind of like went with it as I started to get more into making thumbnails and stuff. And so it was sort of by accident, but one of the things I've tried to do a lot as I've been doing YouTube videos is be like just wicked consistent. So, you know, I try to be exceptionally consistent in publishing every Monday and every Thursday. I try to be really consistent in terms of the style of the videos and how I try to make most of the videos come together. And then even down to like which fonts I use and font sizes and like picture treatments and like even like color correcting stuff. Just you do the same thing over and over again. And by doing that over and over again for, you know, 7 or 8 months now, I think that's what's done it. It wasn't necessarily as planful or intentional, but it was trying to avoid bouncing from one thing to another and being wildly different from kind of each phase.
Yeah. And how did you, like, so in the beginning, you probably had to test out a few different things before you figured out what you wanted to stick with, right?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, like, if you go back to like you can even like go into our YouTube feed, right? And like go back to the oldest videos there, you'll notice that, you know, the first couple like had no music, no nothing. It was just me rambling, walking around our barn, or me walking around the orchard. Or I actually made this really weird video that I still think is really good. It was like a Planet Earth spoof, you know, like with David Attenborough, the nature film type stuff. It was like a spoof of that, but with barn cats. And, you know, like, so I did that. And then I did a couple of vlogs where it was me traveling back and forth from the farm to Washington, D.C., you know, just trying some things out. And, you know, over time, though, you start to see what people respond to. It's like really, you know, spending a lot of time interacting with people in the comments and getting the feedback. And one of the things that's actually really cool about this session today is I see so many people comment on our videos all the time, like on there, including you guys. And just having that interaction to see what people like and what people find interesting, and then sort of doubling down and building.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and what you were saying about like really being consistent down to like the font and like the filter of your videos. I think people like don't realize that that's something that's going on behind the scenes. They just kind of see your videos and they think it's just something you naturally picked, but it's like a really intentional choice that you've made to be consistent. Like now that you're doing it, you continue to do it. You're not going to go throw a script font in there probably.
Well, so I would say that it's a really intentional choice to be consistent, but the choices that I've made weren't necessarily as intentional as you might think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But you don't like you said, you don't bounce around tons of things. You're going with the same concept.
It drives my wife crazy because like I'm the type of person that could like eat the same exact meal every day, wake up exactly at the same time every day, do the exact same thing every day, and I would be so incredibly happy. So yeah, it's I think a virtue, if you will.
That's awesome. Do you have a background in like marketing or anything like that? I don't remember what your background.
Yeah. So I went to college. I was actually an animation major. So like I didn't go to like a normal college. I went to like art school, and basically what I did most of the time was just do a lot of like stop motion animation. That was like the main thing I did for college. And then when I got out of college, I couldn't really find a job doing that because that's not a big thing anymore, especially when it was the rise of computer animation. And so I got into like video production a little bit, and I worked at like an ad agency for a little bit. And then the ad agency I was working at went out of business. So I got a job at this insurance company, and then worked at an insurance company for a number of years, and somehow found my way into marketing, which, for like the last 15 years or so, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it's still actually what I do like for my day job, because I'm not making enough money from the farm to pay my bills. So I still do like insurance marketing during the day.
Yeah, I think it's helpful for people to know too, like that even if you might like a lot of us, I feel like have some background in like either marketing or photography or something creative. And so it kind of gives you some like skills that you might not even think about when you go into the YouTube world, which take a long time to learn. There's a lot of learning. So it's fun to just share these ideas.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Somebody asked about custom thumbnails after hitting a certain sub count.
I think it's 100.
Yeah.
100?
It's 100.
I don't think I ever had to qualify to do custom thumbnails. I think I just had to verify, which was like an email thing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Jez. So like I think it's, once you do the verification process, that's what lets you do a couple of different things with custom thumbnails one. Because I know I definitely was able to do it before I hit 100.
Yeah, I did it like right away. And there's something you need to verify, and it involves an email check. So yeah, I don't have the steps for that right now, but I'm sure someone could send a link in the chat if that's a question you have. Okay, what about you, Matt? I mean, you guys are brand new, and you are already like close to 1,000 subscribers, really. I mean, you're not that far away. And you guys know who you are, you know your brand, and you're really consistent about sharing that. So do you want to share a little bit about how you kind of came up with the name and the vision for Elk and Anchor?
Yeah, so as far as the name goes, it's really named just after our boys, Elk and Anchor. So Elijah, we've kind of referred to him as our little anchor. And then Ezra, his initials are ELC, which does not spell elk, but that's what we call him, little elk. And so Elk and Anchor were just kind of them. And the whole reason we wanted to work towards a homestead in the first place was for them. And so that's kind of where the name came from. And as far as our brand, we started before we got on YouTube. We just sat down and talked, and the whole reason that we got on here was for community. We started probably in October or so, just watching a bunch of YouTube videos of the homesteading community and learning a lot, and decided January that we were going to start our channel because we've been interacting with different people. And so it just started with us just kind of capturing the journey. When we started out, we were talking, we were like, well, we can't do all these awesome homesteading videos with our animals and our seeds and all of that because we're going to be selling our house in the next 4 months. So we're not going to go raise beds or anything. So it's really just kind of been us and starting this process. But what we initially said was, if we're going to do it, we're just going to be ourselves and we're going to be authentic. And so I guess that's kind of what we have to offer, is we're going to be who we are in every video. And I think the other thing that we do is because we're here for the community. I think people can see that, and they know that we're not just here chasing. We both have jobs. This isn't going to support us. We're just doing this because we truly love the community. And I think that comes across as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say from the outside, you guys definitely come off as like who you are, and you're going to share that with the audience, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But what about YouTube? Do you like as a platform for sharing that, or like maybe a blog or something else?
Yeah, I have more of a photography video background. And so I enjoy being able to shoot, kind of like what Morgan said. I enjoy just having an outlet for creativity. I enjoy the editing and all of that. And so it's just something that we can do as a family too. The boys have fun getting in front of the camera, and me and Tiff can go be doing what we're doing that day, take the camera with us, and then I can edit it all together later on. Whereas if we had a blog, it would be one of us sitting there writing that. It's more individualistic, and we're more rooted together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I like about that. Also, there's a lot more. I like to sit and watch and learn and see how to do things. I guess that's more my learning style. And so this community, being able to interact and watch and learn from everybody else on the platform, is what drew us to that. I've been watching YouTube forever, learning things and stuff like that. I've been following YouTubers for years and stuff. And so I've always wanted to do it. I just never really had a voice. I felt like I didn't have anything that I was passionate enough about to start the channel. And so
what changed? What triggered in you to like just do it?
Yeah, I think it was connecting with the community, interacting with individuals, and it wasn't just subscribers, or it wasn't just YouTubers we were following, but they became personalized, and we were able to interact and talk with people and build relationships. And I feel like our videos are an extension of those relationships, because the people that are watching are the ones that we're building these relationships with. So
that's cool. I really like that. If you have questions about that, guys, just like comment them in the chat and we'll answer them. But Natalie, do you want to share your like story about it? Because I know like we're all a little different. I mean, Morgan's got the ducks and a huge farm in Vermont. You know, Matt and Tiffany haven't really started their homestead yet, but they're gearing up. And then Natalie, you have like a little urban homestead and have a different take as well.
Yeah. So are we talking about how I got started, or just
like how you developed, like, and I know you're still in the process of doing this, but like figuring out like what's your purpose here and how you created a brand around that?
Sure. So funny you should ask that. Look what I did today. I was responding to a tag from Forgotten Way Farms, actually, which was started by Two Wild Onions, how we got our homestead name. And I think it actually helped me with branding quite a bit. I think, where's the best place to start? I guess historically, I've always been a really creative person. My dad had a camera in my hand when I was like 2 years old, and he would brag like, "Oh, you've always been a natural. Like, I had a camera in your hand when you were a baby," and just always painted and did things like that. And so when YouTube evolved, it was kind of like this natural next step. And I just thought, oh, you know, I would really love to be on YouTube. And I tried and I failed and I tried and I failed like a bunch of times. But then when we got married, when Tommy and I got married, I knew I wanted to start YouTube for real when people were asking, like, how are you doing this so frugally? How did you find your coffee table on the side of the road? And like, it's this beautiful coffee table back there, and it's actually like super fancy. But like just random things like that. And then people would be like, how do you cook food from scratch? Like, that seems so hard. And I realized that there were things that I was doing that other people thought took a lot of talent or creativity to do. And so I thought, well, maybe if I just start sharing, I could help them feel a little bit more empowered to go do some of these things. And then kind of, it's really hard because it's all meshed together and I'm trying to tell this like cohesive story, but I always had an interest in the food system, and I feel like the food system is pretty corrupt. And when I became a wife, I was like, well, I want to give my family the best, and I don't even feel like organic from the store is really that good. What if we just started growing what we could on our patio? And then right around that time, I kind of got sucked into the Justin Rhodes of Great American Farm Tour. He was actually right out here at my friend's farm at one point, and I like just missed the opportunity to be there. I was like, dang it. And I had like formed this idol out of Justin Rhodes, like we all do. And through his channel, I kind of got connected to like Jess over at Roots and Refuge, and Wholesome Roots and like all these other bigger channels. I was like just delving in, and what I noticed was this theme of they were all saying, I wish I had started sooner. I wish I had started sooner. I wish I had started when I was in the city. And I just thought, okay, I wanted to start a garden. These people are saying start now. I'm tapping back into this dream. At this point, I'm tapping back into this dream, which I had put on the shelf. So let me backtrack again. When I met Tommy, he said, what would you do if you could do anything? And I was like, well, I would run a farm and I would invite people to the farm for therapy. So that's what I do for a living. And so he was like, oh, cool. And this was like when we were, you know, early 20s. And so now I've kind of put all of that together. Hey, It's a Good Life really started as a YouTube channel, but ultimately our goal is to become a healing homestead where we invite people to come for horticulture therapy or come for equine therapy or come for a retreat or an art activity. And so I just feel like you don't have to wait to live the good life. And I think that's kind of where the name comes from, is like, hey, which is kind of an invitation. Is kind of like a decision to have perspective, and the good life, which is subjective. But for me, that's gardening, and that's my faith, and that's my cats, and good coffee, and good wine. And I think there's also a misperception too. Sometimes I think people see that I'm a generally like joyful, bubbly person, but I think the good life also means like grieving well and inviting people in and being vulnerable. And to the extent that you do that on YouTube is obviously up to everybody. But so the good life is a pretty like rounded thing. Ultimately, it's like a home and garden and psychology, gratitude, community thing. So anyway, we're still working on it, but basically this is what Hey, It's a Good Life is. It's these three things. I don't know if you can see it. So I've tried to break it down to make it a little bit easier for myself. And I think my ultimate goal in being here and sharing our story and our journey to homestead and what we're learning along the way is to inspire other people, to encourage them, and to eventually empower them to take action on their dreams, whether that's starting a garden, or maybe it's saving money to go on a trip, or whatever it is. Hi. So that's a little bit about how our channel started, where we're going, and why we're here.
That was great.
Oh, no. Oh, thank you. I was like, oh, you're all on mute. Have you been trying to talk to me this whole time? Sorry.
No. Just trying to block out the background noise.
Oh, got it.
Practicing cello upstairs. I can hear it.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys can.
So I'll just share a little bit our story, just because, I mean, it's really recent. So it's pretty fresh. But the name we came up with like about 2 years ago at work. There's like often these groups called like sunshine clubs, and they're all about like kind of like a donation pool where you give money towards like being able to buy flowers for someone after they lose a loved one or something like that. So you're like supporting colleagues through like giving them a gift, and they're all about like creating a positive culture. So I was like, I really like that idea. And so I wanted the farm to kind of adopt that idea of being a place that's like a positive culture and is uplifting and joyful. So that was my name inspiration. We don't get a lot of sun, so it has nothing to do with the environment. And then kind of like the way I've approached my brand is like, we're huge animal lovers here. And we're a little different because we're not meat eaters, but I wanted to create a space where people were welcome regardless of where they were coming from, and to kind of encourage people to acknowledge differences but still be able to be in community despite those differences. Because I was seeing a lot of like conflict on comments and things where these communities seemed like they could not see each other's perspective. So I wanted to be like kind of like a balanced perspective in that space to just advocate for being able to still like love each other well, even if you don't have the same perspective. So that's kind of my goal with the channel, is just to like share who we are and embrace who we are, but say like, we don't want you to be like us. We want you to be like you, and create a space where everyone can just be like, hey, this is me, and I don't care if you don't like it. So, and then like just trying to kind of demonstrate all those things is really hard through branding. But I think like creating like light colors, you know, I'm a really neutral person. So using like light colors, but also like more positive colors, kind of go with the idea of it being a positive space, brightness, light, like big fonts, but that are just more uplifting, not a lot of dark, not a lot of things that are real intense, because I just want it to be more of that positive space. And then a logo that's like playful and silly and not really serious, I guess. So that kind of just happened, like similar to what Morgan was saying, with it just developing over time and kind of figuring out along the way. I think it just kind of evolves. So
Jen, I think this could be my screen, but on the live, I think I might be featured on the live. So I want to make sure that I clip.
Yeah,
it's just all Natalie cam all the time. It's just how it works.
Make it so that it selects the person who's talking, but I have to unclick myself. There we go. Well, you were just talking for a very long time, Natalie, without your mouth moving at all.
I know. I was like, I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, I think maybe, I don't know, but hopefully, yeah, it's corrected now. So.
Yeah. So anyways, that was kind of where I wanted to start off, just talking about everyone sharing like their different stories of how they kind of came up with their ideas for their brand. And I know, so like with thumbnails, like, because this is another aspect of a brand, because that's what people see when they go to your channel, they see your thumbnails. And Morgan, you talked a little bit about this, just like being consistent, just same thing all the time. But with you, Natalie, you've kind of played around a little bit with this. Have you seen changes in based on thumbnails at all, or?
Yeah, you know, and I know we were talking the other day about this. Like, you know, I've been playing with, like, if you look back, like there was a time when I had sort of like an orange block with sort of like handwritten text, and then I sort of evolved to like orange block with more structured sans serif type text. And now I've tried to drop the text, and it's just basically been because I've been looking at my analytics, and you guys who have channels or watching this, you know, I encourage you to really go in there and spend a lot of time in that space, because when you look at that, you can see so much about what people are responding to and what they're not responding to. And particularly if you go into like the beta section of the analytics, you can see, like, for example, how your thumbnails are performing, sort of what sort of click-through rates you're getting, like what, meaning like how many people are clicking on it and actually saying, oh yes, I want to watch that video. And, you know, if you think about it, right, the thumbnail along with the title is probably one of the biggest drivers for getting people who have no idea who you are and no concept of your videos to actually watch your stuff. And so to spend a lot of time really thinking about that and spending some time trying to make that better, you know, it's really important. I mean, I just saw Rose's comment over at Wholesome Roots, right? She's saying she spent like 3 years trying to evolve her thumbnails. And so I hope that my thumbnails never stay static and it continues to evolve, because the goal is to use that as such a tool to drive people in and get people to experience your content and just watch your stuff. I mean, particularly when you're starting out, it's so important.
Definitely. Yeah. For me, your question was, have you noticed a difference? I think it would be too hard for me to say right now, but I know, and this is kind of going against what I said I would do, but I kind of made this promise to myself that I would like never change anything, so that if I did become this really big channel, that people could go back and like laugh with me at how ridiculous some of my older stuff was. But I am, in kind of having these conversations with you guys, I'm really realizing that it's important to have consistency, and I'm defining colors and all of that stuff for my brand right now. I'm having the hardest time because, guys, I like the rainbow. I like every color. Like, how can I just commit to 3 or 4? It's so hard. But so I'm trying to refine that. I at least have it down to like my 3 fonts that I will not deviate from.
Only 3?
Only 3. Only 3. That's it. I can't have any more. I have a script, a sans serif, and a serif. That's it. I finally have delineated that.
Same,
but
yeah.
I am going to go back and I'm going to update probably with better titles and with better thumbnails as well. I did recently go through and I just like categorized or re-chronicalized them all into episodes, because I was trying to do this thing where it was like very clear. There was like the home playlist and like the garden playlist. And I was just like, you know what? That's just too much work. We're just going to go episode. And so I am starting to clean it up a little bit right now. So, but yeah, I don't know that I've noticed a huge difference, but I will say that the ones that have like an enticing thumbnail that go with an interesting title, those seem to do really well.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I want to try screen sharing for a second to see if I can show people how they can look at this.
Perfect. And then I can go run and get my lamp so I can get better lighting.
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure I don't have like anything that I think I'm good. Okay, so
wait, is your password 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8? I can't believe
that's a good password. Who wouldn't do that?
I think I saw your social. Was that your social?
Okay, I think I'm good. See if it works. Oh, I can just do an application window. Perfect. Okay. For a second, it's going to be you guys. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. It says present to everyone. Yes, that's what I want to do.
Jen, the master. I'm so excited for this. You're so good with all the numbers. I can't wait.
Okay, is it showing up on the?
It is showing up everywhere. Yep.
Okay,
Roger that.
So this video, I want to show you what it is, but I don't want it to show everything. Let me just be bold for a second. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one because that's what I was just talking about. It's a video about being debt-free. And I'm going to go to analytics. Okay, and so you can see a few different data points here, and a lot of them are really significant for a few different reasons. I think this number is really significant. I think that's one of the most significant numbers in my experience, because it shows you once people get to that video, are they subscribing to you from that video? You can lose subscribers, and that's generally sometimes a good thing too, because it says like you're saying a message that in some ways might be like more true to who you are. And so you might lose subscribers, but then you'll probably see an increase over time. So like I just lost like 3 subscribers from a video on vegetarian homesteading because people are like, oh, I don't want to hear this message, which is fine. We don't have to. But it can be a good thing to lose subscribers because you might be weeding out people who actually don't care about you in the beginning, and maybe they don't like your messages, and that's okay because you want loyal followers. You don't want a lot of followers if they're not loyal. So that's kind of something I've noticed. So
Jen, I actually have something to bum you out a little bit on that point. Yeah. What I have found is as I've gained more subscribers, it becomes more and more common that you're just going to lose subscribers on new videos.
Yeah.
But what you start to do is pick up more subscribers on other things like your channel page and other places. And so, well, what you're saying is very true in the initial days. I'm finding more and more, and I've actually talked to other people like even bigger channels that like that happens too as you get more people. It's just you lose more people too. It's just
yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a really good point. But like if a video like went viral or something, you would be getting a ton of subscribers from that spot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so it just depends. Yeah, what Morgan's saying is basically as you post more, you're gonna see a decrease in overall subscribers right after you post, oftentimes, and then over time, your subscriber base is gonna come from different sources than when you just post a new video. So you'll see people, because they probably forgot they were subscribed to you, so they see a video come up and they're like, why am I subscribed to this person? So then they'll just hit unsubscribe. So I think that can happen a lot, and you've seen that more and more. Yeah, but I do think it's interesting because like for this video, this is there's not a ton of views, you know, but it did get some subscribers from people finding us through this video. And then there's another video that had like 500 views and it had like +1 or something really, really small because people aren't connecting with us through that specific video. So I thought that was interesting. But what I wanted to talk about is the thumbnail. So this is the number that you can really look at for how your thumbnails are being received and how your title is being received. And Morgan, you said it was what? Ideally, it's like 4 to 10% or something.
I'm sorry. Oh, for the click-through rate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the click-through rate, it's somewhere between 4 and 10%. And like if you're up over 4.5, I think it is, like you're even getting into 5 range, like you're doing good. Like so, this video that you have up here right now, like that's doing really well.
Yeah, and I think it's because it has a giant $sign on it. People are like, oh, I want to watch a video about money. But it's true. And a title like debt free, people like that's a trending thing right now. You know, people are interested in that topic. So, but I did another video recently that had like 2% click through, and it was just not really an interesting topic. So I think that one had more to do with the title personally than maybe the image. But this could be really interesting because you can look for every video and you can look and see like how it was different on different days. Like it's, I don't know, I just find it really interesting.
Jen, can you talk more about that? Because I feel like you're really good at understanding what these different titles mean. Like I look at this and I get overwhelmed because I'm like, I don't know what a unique viewer is. What's an impression? What are all these different things? And I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but could you shed some light on that for us and maybe for other people watching?
Yeah, so the impressions, I believe, is the number of people that have come across your video. It's come on their screen in some way, shape, or form within like the viewing range. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know, Morgan, you know a little bit about this too. But I believe it's essentially the number of people who could click on your video. So like they see it in their, like it might come up on suggested, it might come up on their home screen, but it's how many people your thing reach. So it's like Facebook reach. I don't know if anyone understands that any better, but it's similar to Facebook reach, like how many people came across this content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the amount of times your thumbnail has been on somebody else's screen is the impression.
Yeah, and then so basically 5% of people who have come across it have watched it, and that's where you see the views number.
Got it.
Another thing that's really interesting is this. This is like, I feel like I love this tab, this search, which has to do with how people are finding your video when they search it. So that's definitely something to pay attention to if you are on analytics. And there's the app you can download, which I've talked about before, called TubeBuddy, which I use the free version, and I don't find it that beneficial, but the one thing I find beneficial about it is it tells you where your video ranks in the search. So where was it? Where'd it go? Okay, so if I click this video, it says the only one that's coming up in the search is this one, which is not great, but it's coming up as number 3, which is interesting. So
you're good at the SEO stuff, though. I've taken the page out of your book with TubeBuddy, and I started trying to make better tags. And I sometimes can't get a tag that ranks like at all, even though I give it my best effort.
One thing that you can do with tags too is if your video is on a topic that a larger channel has done, you can tag their channel in the tags and it will show up in their feed. So once somebody's done watching that video, if you have a video on the same topic, then you can get kind of just piggyback off of them to where you show up on their next suggested video to watch because it's similar.
I've meant to do that. I've meant to do that because I have referenced other people or like inspirational channels, and I don't know that I've tagged them. That is such a good point.
Well, and I'm willing to share with everybody here tonight a little trick that I've figured out when it comes to trying to rank in search. But then I also want to actually give a warning about search. So the trick is this. I have found that if you are looking for a term that's relatively low competition, like if you search for that exact phrase and it doesn't come up, that's going to help you. And then what you should do is make sure that that exact phrase shows up in your title, and then also make sure that that exact phrase shows up in the first sentence, you know, in your video description. So if you actually make those two things match, it helps you in terms of your search ranking, at least initially. If nobody starts using it, you're still gonna underperform on the search. But out of the gate, it will help you. So, for example, like I did a video a couple weeks ago about extreme weather on the extreme cold on the homestead, and I made sure that my title had that. I made sure that my thumbnail had that. I made sure the first sentence of that video description had that. And then as I look at how I rank, and you can use TubeBuddy just like Jenn's doing right here, you can actually see how you pop up, and that is, I've found that to be a good trick. Again, though, you got to make sure it's not heavy competition. So if you do like gardening, you know, that's going to be really hard. But if you do gardening with milk crates or something like that, which is a little bit more unique, you can actually distinguish yourself. So that's the tip. But the warning I will give everybody about search traffic is this: it's not nearly as good as other types of traffic. Mm-hmm. So if you think about the mindset of somebody who's searching for your video, that's somebody who is looking for a specific answer. They don't care about you. They don't care about your story. They don't want to just sit and watch stuff. They want, like, tell me how to fix my ATV. Like, go, please, just tell me what I need to do. What wrench do I need, and how do I take off this?
Right.
And so the more friction that you're putting in there is going to make your video underperform in terms of like the length of that viewing session, which YouTube and their algorithm finds important. And then also it's going to impact your viewer retention, which is one of the biggest factors that YouTube takes into consideration in terms of whether or not to promote your video. So while you can harness some traffic and get some good people to come in the door, it's usually not nearly as high quality as people who are coming in to watch your videos or coming in because they're interested in the general topic that you're covering. And so one of the things that I've generally started to do is, there's some exceptions, but generally speaking, is actually just try to focus on making a thumbnail and a headline that somebody would want to learn more about, just that it's more interesting, so that if I show up and suggested, it's gonna like make people want to click on it because they care about the topic, not because I'm telling them how to do this one thing that they were searching for.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Morgan.
I wanted to.
Hey, Jenn,
what?
Did you see this one from Heather? Jenn, can you speak to videos being recommended by YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Let me show the data point for that, because there's one strong data point that's gonna really stick with that. And Morgan's talked a little bit about it, but let me show it. It's essentially your retention rate and also likes. But if people aren't staying on your video for very long, like maybe less than 40%, which is hard to get to when you're starting out. But if they're not staying on your video very long, YouTube's not going to recommend it, because YouTube's whole goal is to keep you on their platform for as long as possible. So really you're aiming for as close to 50% and above as possible with your retention rate. And I will pull that up real quick. But yeah, that's, Morgan, you can comment on this too. I know you've talked a little bit about it.
No, I think you said it really well. It's
yeah, that was.
And again, there's no like magic to this, and you know, everybody's gonna say, hey, they have the secret, like they see like these clickbaity headlines on YouTube for that. But even still, there's some general rules of thumb, like audience retention is huge, and you know, watch minutes are huge in terms of driving that YouTube recommendation. But at the end of the day, there's like probably 25 factors or more that are going into whether or not you get recommended. And I think one of the things that I read was that people are like, YouTube's actually now tailoring it more and more per person too. So like, you know, Jenn, your recommended list is always going to be different than Natalie's, and it's going to be different than mine, it's going to be different than Matt's. Like that's just how it works.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm seeing a lot of, my recommended is mostly channels I'm watching, I would say, or have watched in the past, even if they have nothing to do with each other sometimes. So I'm finding that it, like a lot, like I might be watching a gardening video and then something comes up about like something totally unrelated, like thrift shopping or something, because I watched that one person, like their one video a few weeks ago or something. So it's not always like, it doesn't always make sense. But this is the data point I was talking about with audience retention. And this video was really poor. It was one of my first videos, and I did a lot of stuff at the end that had nothing to do with well, it did have to do with it, but it was just a little slower and it was a long video. So I didn't have the best retention. But I did want to comment on this video in particular because this has gained like a pretty substantial portion of subscribers. I don't have very many, so 37 is a good number. And it's because of search. And like Morgan was saying, that's not the best way people are going to find you. But for this specific video, the search term is so unavailable that people are finding it, and it's through this one search term, vegan homesteading. We're not even a vegan homestead technically, but people are searching that and they're not finding anything else, and so we show up as #1 for that topic, even though that's not like 100% who we are. It's just really interesting to me, just because nobody's making content on that, so, and people are interested in it. So I thought that was really interesting, and the click-through rate is really high, so that was really interesting. So I think because the click-through rate is high and because the SEO, the search engine optimization with those search terms were good, it's bringing in a lot of viewers and some new subscribers and a lot of passionate viewers who are excited to comment on other videos. So that's more meaningful to me than like a ton of views. So anyways.
One thing that I'll say too, well, two things. One, advice that I've been given is really your first year, you don't have to be all into the numbers, because a couple of things. One, you're still figuring out what you're passionate about. You're still figuring out your brand. You're still figuring out your video style and all of that. And so, you know, I know, Natalie, you were talking about still experimenting and stuff, and that's fine, because none of us have been doing this to where we're just completely have our style and everything down pat. And so feel free to experiment. And if there's channels that are starting out and they're saying, well, I want to get to 300, I want to get to 500 or 600, don't be so worried about the numbers, because that's going to come through in your videos. If you're genuinely caring about the videos that you're making and you're passionate about that, then that's going to carry through too, and people are going to see that. The one thing that I would say though, the first 6 months of your YouTube journey, the main thing that I would focus on is your traffic sources types, and what you're wanting to see go up is YouTube search and YouTube impressions, or the YouTube suggested. Yeah. And that means that YouTube thinks in your niche that you're doing that you're worth sharing to other people in that. And so if your YouTube search and your YouTube suggested is going up, then that means that what you're doing, YouTube thinks that people are really going to care to watch that, and that you have kind of a portfolio in that niche market. And so that's, you know, all of this is important, but somebody that's, you know, just starting out, they don't need to be so focused in that as much as what we talked about at the beginning. You want to know who you are, who your channel is, what brand you're trying to build. And so like for us, our #1 traffic sources through YouTube search is Elk and Anchor Homestead, Elk in Anchor Homestead, and then Elk and Anchor. And that means that people are searching for us because we're building a brand of who we are. And then those other videos, if you have videos that just go viral or that a lot of people are interested in, that's good in getting your name out there. But if you're building an audience that cares about who you are and what you're doing, so they know that, hey, Jen, you're the vegan homesteader, I'm going to go and follow you. Or, hey, Natalie, she's got the, you know, the garden on her back porch just like I do. Then they're going to connect with that, and they're going to be there, and they're going to support you and help that channel base grow, because they're going to give you the watch time and all of that stuff. And so if you're focusing on what you're making, and you're making it because you're passionate about it, and then through the analytics and SEO and all that stuff, as you start doing the tags and doing all of that stuff better and better, you'll see that that YouTube's going to start recommending you more and more to other people, because then YouTube can know exactly what your channel's about. Mm-hmm. If you're making a video about, you know, one thing and then a completely different thing and then another random thing, YouTube doesn't know what your channel's about, so they don't know who to recommend you to. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the other advice that I would give on it.
That's so well said. Thank you so much for saying that, Matt. That was really well said. I think that gives a lot of freedom to people who want to start a YouTube, which I know one of my friends on here, Boldly Grow, is came over here from Instagram, and he's just starting off. And so, but that's also such like a good reminder too, because even though I started a while ago, I had to take a break because I got injured. And so I still feel like I'm so in the beginning phases of this. And so I feel like there's a lot of freedom in that. And I think that ties into something that I found to be really helpful, which is basically what you said, but what you said in my words would be, the more we own our story, the more we find our niche, the more we find our people. And so I feel like there's just been this call inside of me, own your story, own your story. I will never forget driving out to our women's retreat. And I just felt this like thing inside of me that's like, I'm kind of working on my YouTube, kind of or Instagram and talking with these people on the way out there. And I just felt this thing. And I know it sounds so silly, but I'll never forget it was, you need to change your Instagram bio to the fact that you want a homestead and that you're working towards a farm. And I was like, why it's so much safer to just be like home and garden? That's so vague. And then like, this is my comfort zone. And it was like the first step into the unknown and being uncomfortable and kind of sharing my heart and being scared to be judged for that. But I think it's really important to just say like, yeah, I don't know everything. Yes, I'm starting on an apartment, and then you will attract the people who are interested in that, which is exactly what you said.
No. Well, and I think more people are going to connect to that than they are having a 15-acre homestead. You know, there's a lot more people out there that want to start growing on their patio than are going to sell their house and go and start all over. Now, there's people that are doing that, but you can gain a lot of traction marketing to that niche because that's where you're at in life. And there's going to be a lot of people that are right there with you that want to know how you're doing it and how you're making it work.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the goal. I mean, I've got to get my soil figured out before I can have anything to brag about in the garden. That's one of my videos this week. Look out for it. Getting my soil tested.
But it all happens in steps. I mean, like I remember when I was living in Brooklyn, right, and living in a tiny little apartment, and I had access to like a little balcony, and that's where I started growing tomatoes. Like that was the first thing I did. And then when we moved to DC, like I had like a front yard that I was able to rip up and put in raised beds, and like that's another step. And then, you know, finally getting out to the farm, which took us years to kind of figure out how to make that work. That's like another step. So it's recognizing that, you know, you can have these big dreams and like what you want to do, and it's just when you make work with what you got right in front of you, and in and of itself, I think that there's like so much good learning that you get and so many good skills that you can develop with just working with whatever is in front of you and trying to build and get ready for whatever that next thing might be. I mean, right now here at the farm, well, I feel like I probably will never want to leave this place. There's like 8 million things that I now want to do with the farm and trying to build up that will probably take me till I'm ancient, senile old man and I probably still won't have the list completely crossed off. And that's totally cool. But that's life, right? Like that's kind of what it gets down to. And so just recognize that you're never going to, like, you keep thinking sometimes, because I used to think this when I was like living in DC, especially, like, oh, if I just get to there, it'll be so good and it'll be so great and I'll have it set then. But then you get there and then you're looking at the next thing and the next thing. And so it's really appreciate where you're at, make the most of it, and get ready for whatever's next.
That's very encouraging for somebody who's like exhausted working full time and also doing this and a million other things. It's very encouraging to like have the reminder of once you get to that next step, it doesn't have to be more fulfilling than your life can be right now. Like you can make the best of where you're at.
Right.
And I also wanted to add that I was talking to, I think it was.
Jenn, are you saying that you can live a good life right where you're at?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, it's too tough.
Life.
Weird. I know this girl who started this thing called Hey, It's a Good Life.
Yeah, me too. I was going to add that I was talking to Kelly over at Better Together Life, and she shared, which spoke a lot to me, that when you're starting something out, it can feel like you're the only one. Like, especially when we live in these communities sometimes, like directly around us, whether you're working a full-time job or you're in Southern California or I'm in upstate New York, wherever it is, like the people directly around us might not care at all about homesteading. They might not care at all about sustainability or self-sufficiency or any of that. So it can feel like you're totally alone in this endeavor. And so I think what's cool about YouTube and Instagram and online communities is that you realize that you're not the only one. And so I think just boldly sharing who you are, what you stand for, and I think you just learn, like, there's so many people out there who relate to my story, and it's really empowering to keep going. And so that's where I think like analytics can tell you if you're doing a good job at that. Like, to me, the videos where I'm really passionate about my story are the ones that analytics says are getting the most positive reception from people. And so I use analytics as a reminder of, wow, like I really need to focus on that more. Like I need to remind myself to be true to who I am, because it's not just what works, it's what's meaningful to me, but it also works. And I think that's really cool. It's a reminder of like, wow, people really do relate better when we're like fully all in to who we are and what we stand for.
No, that's so right, Jen. I mean, you know, yeah, being authentic and then focusing on making the connections with people, because one of the things that I completely didn't expect, but I think is probably the coolest part that I've found about making videos has been just the number of friends that I've made through this. I mean, like dozens of people now that, you know, I'm texting or messaging with regularly or hanging out like this. And it's so cool. It's like, and it was so much of us have like these shared interests, whether it's raising animals or growing our own food or building things or taking care of a forest. It's like all this stuff that you might not have people who are, to your point, like right next door to you who have that interest, but you're able to kind of create this community across the country or across the world even of people with similar interests and mindsets. And you know, when I started making videos, I had no idea that would be sort of a side benefit that would come from it.
I would 100%. Like I've made more friends on YouTube in the past 2 months than I've made anywhere else, like ever. And another really cool thing about YouTube is it builds a ton of self-confidence, in my opinion. Like you really learn to embrace who you are in a way that I've never been able to do before, which I think is really cool. Which seems weird because you think, oh, people are, you know, going to hate on you or whatever, but you learn to be like, no, this is who I am, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's about community?
That was such a good video. I saw that one. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, someone even commented and was like, did you plan that?
Wow.
Those two things are so well said, you guys. At the community thing, it's funny. I feel like I've made a shift from telling Tommy, oh, my YouTube friend, to just like, oh yeah, my friend Jen, or oh yeah, Morgan, or oh yeah, Matt. It's like, I'll just be like, oh yeah, these are my friends and this is what's happening in their lives. And it's so fun to meet a community of people that are into the same things as you, which doesn't always happen in real life. Like to my friends, we'll be on a walk and I'll be like, oh, lantana, or oh, marigold or something. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, girl, how do you know all these plants? But then online, it's a totally different story. Yeah, the power of community, Matt. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, Chris gets really confused because I refer to people just like by name, and he's like, wait, who are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, like Kelly or, you know, Natalie, or he got really confused about you, Matt. So I was talking about Matt, and I have a brother named Matt, and so he kept thinking I was talking about my brother. I was like, no, Matt Falcon Anchor. It's like so funny how people there are real authentic friendships, and I think people think that's strange, but it's not. It's just the way like technology just enables these relationships to develop, but they're not necessarily different than they would be if they were in person. They're just using a different mode.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and it's like what Morgan said. You've got like-minded people that are finding like-minded people, and so you've already got something in common because you have the same passions and you're striving for the same goals, and so it just allows these friendships to develop.
Definitely.
You're muted.
I know I was muted. Okay, so I wanted to just share like a resource real quick before we wrapped up because, oh, hi, welcome. Some new people are popping on. And I wanted to ask you guys, so back to a little bit of like the YouTube branding and stuff, and back to like thumbnails, what do you use to make, like what are you using to make those things? Like what softwares, because there are free resources and I want to highlight some free resources, but I want to know what you guys use.
So you know how like you might have that friend who like loans your Netflix account to you, or your HBO Go password, and you do that. I've had this friend who's loaned me their Adobe password, and so I'm just like full on, you know, Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects is how I do everything. And,
is that what you edit with your videos as well?
Yeah. Oh, I do all my thumbnails in Photoshop. I do all my motion graphics and like the weird animations that you guys sometimes see in After Effects. I do all of my editing in Premiere. I'm getting ready to start a podcast pretty soon, and I'm, you know, producing all of that automation. And yeah, so it's all Adobe, and yeah, it's like I said, it's like one of those guilty things of like, you know, it's the equivalent of trading a Netflix password. I see it as so.
For sure.
And Natalie, you use Photoshop too, right?
I do. I've used Canva. I see Rose hopped on there and said she used Canva. I've used Canva for like different things, but Photoshop is really handy because I am still part of the subscription. Although that is, yeah, just a frustrating thing when we're on a journey to financial freedom and retiring early. I want to eliminate all subscriptions. So I'm on a mission to do that, and I recently just heard of another software that's basically replacing Photoshop, and it's you buy it one time, and I can't remember what it's called now. It's like Illumination or something like that, and it's like $40 flat fee once. But I would like to switch over. So that's what I use for thumbnails, and then for editing my videos, I use iMovie, but I would like to switch over. I've used Final Cut Pro. It's kind of just like a glorified version of iMovie. I would like to switch over to more Adobe products. So yeah, I just feel like you can do so much more. So I'm eager to learn more about that.
Yeah, I use Canva, and I got really used to using it for work. I use it a lot to make infographics and things like that.
You're so good at it too. Your infographics are just, yes, so on point.
Thank you. I want to be like Morgan and be able to do I want to do animation in videos, like using infographics, but I can't do that right now with iMovie. But I'm trying to avoid spending any money on something that doesn't bring in any money. So just because that's not with the debt-free journey, as you referred to, Natalie. But although I did just buy a new camera, so.
Yeah, you did. We're starting an M50 gang here, people. Yeah, we are.
I know. Okay, but I wanted to show quickly Canva and how it can be used just because it is free. What? Did someone say something? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again because it's so much fun. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, so this is Canva. This is free. You just type it in, canva.com, and you can choose layouts. I think it's desktop wallpaper is the template I use. And then I just go in and kind of play around with it. But I pretty much use the same fonts, the same colors, and I can even copy and paste things if I think they need to stay more consistent. So like for today, you know, I made this little lovely one. And it's really easy, like, to learn. It's very user-friendly. You can move things around with just your mouse. It doesn't require any fancy skills. And what's really nice about it is it's really easy to do like a gridded thumbnail if you want multiple images layered. I'll just delete something real quick. If I just delete this, delete that, I could do like this, and I could make like 2 pictures put together, and then I can just like copy my text boxes over and, you know, layer them and do whatever I want. But it's really easy, it's free. I like it. Not that everyone has to use it, but if you're looking for something free that can give you some creativity, I do enjoy Canva. Trying to.
Yes, that is actually really nice. Those are some tools I didn't know about. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, there's a lot on Canva. And on Canva too, there are really good icons. So if you're like I said, the debt-free journey, when we used a big cash icon, because it's, you're talking about money. So like there's a YouTube icon, there's lots of icons, there's like animal icons, there's garden icons, everything. So if you do a video and you want to add a fun little icon, you can just do that quickly on Canva.
That is so much easier than searching for vector images. I will tell you that.
Yeah, trying to find like common, what do they call, Creative Commons images, because you want to be really careful with copyright on YouTube. So that's the nice thing about Canva. It's all Creative Commons. All the fonts are like free Creative Commons fonts. The images available that are free are all open. Like you don't have to pay for them. You're not going to get in trouble for using them. So that's nice.
That is so nice. Do we have any time to talk about choosing colors? Because Jen, you're like a pro. You've got this like muted, gardeny farm color thing going on. And I just love it. And I can't decide on my color.
Green. So I've been using, yeah, that's a good question. Because I had a really hard time, just like you, Natalie, where I like a lot of different colors, but I've just kind of tried to be consistent with them. And the more consistent that I am with the colors, the more I like them. I don't know how else to explain it. It's kind of like, you always use this one green color, seeing it go well in your, on your homepage, and seeing it just the way it like flows well, brings all your videos together. And then I'm trying to tie it into like my website, Instagram as well, just so that people, because green, right? Green is so many things. Green goes with working on a debt-free journey. Great, like, you know, trying to save money and be good stewards of what you have. And then also like growing things, being plant-based. Like green is just such a great color for what we do. So I'm enjoying like focusing more on that like muted tone, because I'm a neutral lover. I love it. And also picking a tone that matches our identity as a channel. So, but it was pink at first, and Chris wants to do how-to videos and stuff, and I felt really bad about using pink. Not that pink can't be masculine, but in the world we live in, it is a feminine color, and so I didn't want to use pink in cursive font for everything. So I tried to focus more on something that would reach a male and a female audience. Although I am a woman and men aren't sometimes as interested in watching female videos. So that's just a reality.
Yeah.
I had one more question for you guys. A piece of advice that I heard when I was just listening to some podcasts was to think about your ideal audience. Like think about the person that you most, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I want to, because, you know, I don't know. But think about that person you really want to reach. Like, who are you hoping to reach with your channel? And then to like, because when you first start recording, it's really awkward. So you're talking to like a lens, and that's not anyone. And so it was to envision the person you want to reach, and to actually give them a name and give them like an identity, and to like send a message to them. And that will help you like tailor your channel to who you actually want it to be for. I was curious if you guys have done that, if you kind of think about who you're trying to tell your story to, or if you try to like envision, like they talk about using avatars, like you create these people that don't exist, but they're the type of person that you're really hoping to reach, and seeing if then your audience ends up matching that or not.
Yeah. I'll go. I think we kind of thought about that before we started making videos, because we were consuming content, and I guess who we were making our videos to are the channels that we were following, the relationships that we had already made, because we didn't start just by making videos. We started by watching and then commenting and building relationships with people. And so my videos are to the people that I've built relationships with on YouTube. So when I'm looking at the camera, I'm talking to the friends that I have and that I've made, and that the ones that are commenting and that have been, you know, interacting with us. And so it becomes more of a conversation and less of me trying to do something. But that's just kind of our style, and what we've done is it's for this community that we're a part of. And so, yeah.
I really like that. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Once you have people that are following along your journey, it's so much easier to talk to them because you're now friends. Like you have this relationship built. So I love how you talked about that in your video, the Elk and Anchor Tribe, because I think that's like important. Like, yeah, they're subscribers, but they're more than that. They're following you for a reason, and you're going to focus on sending a message to them. So I like that a lot.
And that's part of our whole idea and branding, I guess, more like we're trying to build that community of people that are like-minded, and that's what the Elk and Anchor Tribe is. It's those people that have been reaching out. But if I had a specific person, it would be Maya. So I'm looking at Maya every time I talk, and I just see that ponytail flowing, and so
That's
awesome. Morgan, do you have somebody that you're talking to over there?
Yeah, so it's funny. It sort of actually changes from video to video, but it's always like a certain friend. Like when I first started making my videos, it was a lot of friends that I had who were living in cities. And just picturing like, let me just try to describe for them what's going on here on the farm. You know, whether if they're like living in New York or Austin or LA or wherever. And it sort of started there. But as sort of things have gone on, and sort of as I've started to get to know people who are actually watching our videos on a regular basis, pretty much every video I'm thinking about and recording, it's usually in you know, thinking about somebody that I've been interacting with in the comments, or somebody who's asked a question through an email or Instagram message or something. And yeah, that's pretty much who I'm picturing as I'm communicating. So it isn't actually one person, and it shifts from video to video, but it's always a very concrete, specific person that I'm thinking about.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. What about you, Natalie?
For me, I feel like now that I'm a part of this community and I feel like we're all kind of friends, I definitely picture you guys, especially the people who show up like all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know I can talk to them right now, which is so awesome. Kind of like you were saying that. But I think if I had to pick like an ideal, or like who am I trying to reach and can I envision them on the other side of that camera, I really hope to reach and talk to people who are like this close to taking that step with whatever their dream is. And I hope I'm like mostly a gardening channel, mostly like a cooking channel, DIY person. I hope that if I reach that person who's like, yeah, I've been thinking about trying to save money by making my own detergent, I hope my video like gives them that little bit of boost to go finally do it. Or maybe that person's been thinking about starting a garden. I hope that they see my video and feel encouraged to go do it.
Yeah, I think for me, and I really like that. Like you're focusing on an audience that you want to encourage. Like you are trying to find someone who's in a spot where they need encouragement, and you're trying to be that encouragement to them. And I feel like I can really relate to that. For me, it's somebody who has been living a very cautious life, maybe a life that makes sense, but is not fulfilled. And I want our channel to be like, you can do this. Like, who cares if you're 22, or who cares if you're in a lot of debt? Like, there's a lot of things you can do, and here's ways, like here's our story, and here's like kind of how we're living. Like, you can work full time and live on a homestead. Like, you can go to grad school and have a home. Like, there's all these things you can do, and we think of life as like, this is, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to look this way. Like, you have to be like off grid on a homestead, quit your job, like have like tons of kids. Like, and not that that's a bad thing. Those are good things, but sometimes we think like that's the only way to live that life. But there's so many other ways to live life, and they're all good, and you can do it wherever you're at. Kind of like you, Natalie. It's like you don't have to live on a farm to have a homestead, and like just embrace where your passions and interests are taking you, and not worry so much about fitting in these molds that we kind of have in society. So that's like the
Jen, I was going to say too, Creating Essence was kind of talking about what we're talking about. And she said far more people are in awe of what they do as opposed to watching them for being able to relate. And that goes back to what we were talking about. If you know who your audience is, and you know that the people that you're talking to are watching because they're in awe of it, then that's your target audience. Whereas for mine, it's going to be people that are that are relating to what we're doing and all of that. And so I think it doesn't matter who your audience is as long as you know who they are, and that's who you're reaching to. So is Tommy right there?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just got home. He brought me a gift.
Tommy over.
Let's see it. Let's see it. People have been hashtagging, where is Tommy? Win Tommy over. Let's see it, Boo. Wow. Let's come here. I want to see it.
I like how Natalie's trying to like coerce him, like, come on into the frame, come on.
Ah.
There it is. Hey, Tommy, so we're really good friends. You just didn't know it yet.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
Guys, this is so fun. So this is Matt from Elk and Anchor, Morgan from Goldchaw Farms, and Jen from Sunshine Farms.
Matt, Morgan, yeah. It's all we can remember.
Yeah.
And we're live with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. So I just got the Canon M50. Tommy's at a trade show, and he brought me this new Canon tote bag. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
Sturdy. Very sturdy. Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, I've been on my feet all day, so
Bye.
good to meet you guys.
You too.
Somebody asked a question that I wanted to answer too. It was a ways back. 1 second. Oh, I think they just asked about who does the editing.
Yes, I saw that one from Grandma So Happy. I love that name.
Yeah, sounds like she's got a tough editing situation because it's competing channels for editing time.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean that she has more than one channel that she edits for?
No, I think her daughter has a channel and she's got a channel, and her daughter does all the editing.
Rose, those are both great choices.
Mm-hmm. You should, if you're curious about the M50, I know Elk and Anchor, Natalie, Hey, It's a Good Life, and we are all going to be using it. So if you're curious about how it works, you can watch our video.
I have the 70D, Rose. I have the 70D, and I just got the M50 because the 70D was just too heavy, especially like if my back goes out. And I know that's kind of where you're at right now. And the M50 is like a very comparable little sister to the 70D, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Rose, I've got a video coming out Tuesday on why I chose the M50 over the 80D and the Sony. What's the new one? The 6400.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
I just want to show you guys this. I think this is better than all of your fancy cameras.
Okay.
So much good work. It lasts forever in sub-zero temperatures. It looks ridiculous with the big microphone on top, but it's also like, I think the whole setup is less than $500 too. So it's a GoPro 7 with a mic attached to it and some doohickeys I found on Amazon. So.
Yeah, I think one thing people don't talk about when they talk about cameras sometimes is what are you using it for? Because like for you, that's like you're outside in the snow, in the cold, doing farm chores during your videos. Like it makes so much sense, like to have that be your camera. But,
yeah, I mean, I have this little Sony camera that's actually, it's like an RX100. It's better, technically speaking, it's better than that camera. But like this time of year, except for today when it's like 40 degrees, I can only get like 10 minutes of record time before I have to change batteries. And that just becomes completely inconvenient. So yeah, that can deal with the weather. It can deal with water. I can put it like right in front of the ducks and they can splash all over and it doesn't matter. And I can drop it like I do all the time. And it's just durable. So what I've found is going with a less expensive camera that, you know, shoots okay. It does. I don't know. They don't probably look as pretty as you guys these days, but like it's durable and it does what I need. And so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. You always have good footage.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, like my goals is like, I really just want to get like really cool footage of the animals, like with like a nice blur in the background. And, you know, so it's like, for me, it's just, I'm just a pretty snob, I guess. Like I just want things to look really pretty. So I want to use those Canon lenses. And that's what I like about the M50 is it's lightweight, but you can attach the adapter and be able to use those Canon lenses that I already have. But
yes, that's
I just wanted to take a minute to correct Rose in the comments. I just noticed she's saying that GoPro has the fishbowl look. You can actually change that in the camera these days. You can change it so that it looks more like a standard wide angle versus like a fisheye lens, which does make it look a lot less sort of seasick.
That's a good point. Honestly, the most important thing with the camera is that it has autofocus. That's all I gotta say, because I've been using a camera that does not have autofocus, and I'm so ready to be done.
I literally don't know how you did that, Jen. I don't know how you did that. I'm so excited for this M50.
And Nicholas was saying he's going to start with his iPhone, and really that is plenty sufficient for starting.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were saying too. The more you do it, the more you figure out what you're looking for in a camera. All of the cameras that are made today are very good at specific things. And so shooting on your iPhone for 3 months, 6 months, you get, 20, 30, 40 videos in, then you really know what you're looking for, and you know the limitations of the camera that you have. And so if it's your iPhone, a couple, 10, 15 videos in, you might say, okay, now I'm looking for this, and you can go and find a camera that does that. You don't have to just go and get a camera because Peter McKinnon or somebody recommends it. But the more you use what you got, the more you'll figure out your style and what you need in the camera.
By the way, you guys, Nick is going to have one of the coolest channels. I'm not going to say anything, but just wait for it. Pretty soon, he's going to be coming out with some stuff, and I think it's going to be really awesome. Also, it's really good to see another YouTuber in Vermont.
A YouTuber what?
He's in Vermont.
Oh, yeah. I love
so keep an eye out.
Channels. There's not a lot of North homesteading channels. It's like you and Lumna Acre.
There's not a lot of Georgia channels either, right? We need to get more.
Who's in California, guys? Come on. I'm the most lonely out of all of you. Nobody's in Southern California. It's too expensive here.
It's true.
Get it.
Oh, you got Denali, Weedham, and Reap. That's Southern California.
No, they're Arizona, right?
Oh, they're right. They're in Tucson. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you guys something. Somebody was asking about a phone. My first video on this channel is shot on a phone because I was so my ADD or my 70D was so heavy. So if you want footage of a phone video, I have some. But there is a tool that I got on Amazon, and I don't know where it is right now because things are a mess. But you can actually adapt it to a tripod, and it will hold your phone for you. So you don't always have to hold it. That can eliminate some of the shaky footage. It's basically like this thing that you can twist this way or this way for vertical or horizontal footage. And you just kind of twist your phone in there. Morgan's on it, I think. But
there's also lenses you can add to your phone. Did you know
those as well? They're awesome.
Yeah, so there's I mean, I started on the camera I already had, which I would say was a lot worse than a phone. I mean, I use my phone for some stuff. It does good B-roll, but when I'm behind the camera, there's so many.
Yeah. I'm gonna find my Google or my Amazon orders and throw them up in the chat real fast.
If you want a really good lens for the iPhone or I think they do the Pixel and all of that, Moment lenses, Moment, they have a bunch of really nice ones.
Yeah, I like for vlogging. Someone asked about Canon M50 lenses, and you would know better than me. But if you get the adapter, I really like for vlogging having a wide angle lens, 18 to 155 or something like that. But then for B-roll footage, this one, which is really not that expensive, a 50 millimeter with 1.8 aperture or 1.6 this one has or something, or maybe 1.4, I don't know. 50 millimeter, those fixed lenses, any fixed lens is really great with a nice sharp focus and a blurred background. They're not that expensive.
Pack your kit lenses to do that for you too. So long as your image stabilization is on, you can zoom in, and if you can't afford a prime lens, you can zoom in and get a decent effect with blurry background. Yeah, that's true.
If you zoom and then focus, you're gonna have more of a blurred background. If it's just not zoomed at all, it's gonna look flatter.
Be kind of limiting in low light because reasons. But,
Canon's go-to vlogging lens has been the 10 to 18, I believe it is, because it's got that really wide depth or that wide. I don't know.
Wide angle.
Yeah, wide angle. I use the 18 to 35 f1.8. It's really heavy though, and so it goes back to knowing what you're wanting in a shot. For me, it's worth the wait for what I'm using it for. But if I'm going to be vlogging, that lens is 3 times heavier than the camera, and so
yeah,
this one is really, really heavy. It's got to be like at least 3 or 4 pounds. So even when I get a lightweight camera, it's going to be like still super heavy.
Right.
Well, are you guys like feeling like we should wrap up at this point? I mean, I feel
I
like
think we've done it all.
Yes. Yeah.
this is fun though. I'm happy we had success with Google Hangout and talk about this.
Yes. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
that was a good one.
Yeah, we should make this we're going to set a trend and you're going to see all these lives with Google Hangouts coming up.
Yeah, I think we are, girl. Yes, this is happening. I think it's gonna happen tomorrow on mine. I mean, this is way better than last week. Like, let's have some people on the show. Let me
That
just
was
hold.
fun. It was like it was all low tech and everything. I liked it.
I love that. Well, this was my first live. And I felt much better about it having some other people on it with me than just doing it by myself.
Hey, happy to be there.
I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Okay, well, thank you guys. The next topic. I don't know what the next topic will be. I want to talk about starting a homestead. Like, ask people about something. I don't know, something about starting a homestead. Like actually like tips for like how do you set your goals and how do you look at properties and how do you like where do you start and manage all of that. So maybe somebody's interested in talking about that. If you're interested in talking about that, let me know. We can collaborate on another Google Hangout Live.
Definitely.
No.
The other half is here. Hello.
I've been watching from the living room.
Awesome.
Hey.
She said, I have no clue what to say in there, so I'm just going to watch from the living room.
Yeah. He knows all big stuff.
Good to see you.
You too.
Were you going to say something, Natalie?
I got excited to see Tiffany and got distracted. What were we talking about? Oh, topics. Gosh, I can't remember. What I was going to say was viewers should vote.
What?
They should tell us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, vote for
what-
topics in the comments or in the chat. I don't know how it works in
Do
live.
it in the comments, or it'll be easier to find at the end.
Yeah, comment on this video if you have suggestions for the next topic. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Yay! Bye.